Have you ever wondered what the world's rarest personality type does when they think nobody's looking? Those mysterious INFJs who make up just 1 to 3% of the population? Well, buckle up because today we're pulling back the curtain on the secret world of INFJs and revealing the 8 fascinating things they do in their private moments. If you've ever felt like you're living a double life, putting on a social mask during the day but completely transforming when you're alone, then you might just be an INFJ. And trust me, what we're about to uncover will either make you nod your head in complete recognition or give you incredible insight into the INFJ in your life. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's dive deep into the hidden world of the advocate personality type. You're about to discover why INFJs are truly one of the most intriguing personalities on the planet. 1. They create elaborate fantasy worlds and scenarios. When the door closes and the world quiets down, INFJs become master storytellers, not for others, but for themselves. They don't just daydream. They construct entire universes complete with characters, plot lines, and emotional landscapes that would make Hollywood writers jealous. Picture this. While you're scrolling through social media or watching TV, an INFJ might be mentally directing an epic conversation they wish they'd had with their boss, or they're living out their dream life as a successful novelist in a cozy cabin by the lake. These aren't just random thoughts floating around. They're carefully crafted scenarios with rich details and emotional depth. What's really fascinating is how these mental movies serve multiple purposes. Sometimes they're rehearsals for real-life situations. An INFJ might play out a difficult conversation dozens of times in their head, considering every possible response and outcome. Other times, these fantasies are pure escape, a way to experience adventures and emotions that their everyday life might not provide. The thing is, these imaginary worlds aren't childish or unrealistic. They're actually incredibly sophisticated and often reflect the INFJ's deepest values and desires. When they imagine themselves giving a passionate speech about social justice or comforting a friend through a crisis, they're not just fantasizing. They're connecting with their authentic self and their vision of who they want to be. This private theater of the mind also helps INFJs process complex emotions. Instead of just feeling angry or sad, they'll create scenarios where they can explore these feelings safely. They might imagine confronting someone who hurt them, or they'll visualize themselves succeeding in an area where they feel insecure. It's like having their own personal therapy session, writer's room, and adventure park all rolled into one. 2. They engage in deep self-analysis and reflection. While others might unwind by binge-watching Netflix or scrolling through TikTok, INFJs prefer to dive deep into the ocean of their own consciousness. When no one's watching, they become their own therapist, philosopher, and life coach all at once. This isn't your typical "how was my day?" reflection. We're talking about profound, soul-searching analysis that would make Socrates proud. INFJs will spend hours examining their motivations, questioning their beliefs, and trying to understand the intricate web of their emotions and reactions. They'll ask themselves questions like, why did I react so strongly to that comment? Or, what does my recurring dream about being trapped in a maze really mean? They're constantly trying to decode themselves, looking for patterns and connections that others might miss or dismiss. What makes this self-analysis so unique is how thorough and honest it is. INFJs have an uncanny ability to see their own flaws and blind spots without being overly harsh or defensive. They'll acknowledge their mistakes, understand their triggers, and work on personal growth with the same intensity that others might dedicate to their careers. This deep reflection often leads to sudden insights and aha moments. An INFJ might suddenly understand why they've been feeling restless lately, or they'll connect the dots between a childhood experience and their current relationship patterns. These moments of clarity are incredibly valuable to them and often lead to significant life changes. The downside? Sometimes this self-analysis can turn into rumination or overthinking. INFJs might get stuck in analysis paralysis, questioning every decision and second-guessing their instincts. But more often than not, this deep self-awareness helps them live more authentically and make choices that align with their true values. 3. They research people and situations obsessively. When INFJs become curious about someone or something, they don't just Google it once and move on. Oh no, they become full-blown detectives, researching with the intensity of a CIA analyst working on a classified case. Let's say they meet someone interesting at a party. While others might just enjoy the conversation and move on, an INFJ will go home and spend the next 2 hours learning everything they can about this person. They'll check out their social media, look up their company, maybe even find articles they've written or projects they've worked on. But here's the thing, this isn't stalking or being creepy. It's their way of understanding people on a deeper level. INFJs are naturally curious about human nature and what makes people tick. By researching someone's background, interests, and experiences, they're trying to build a complete picture of who this person really is. This research obsession extends beyond people to situations, ideas, and interests. If an INFJ becomes interested in minimalism, they won't just declutter their closet. They'll read books about it, watch documentaries, join online communities, and study the philosophy behind the lifestyle. They want to understand not just the what, but the why and how of everything that captures their attention. The same intensity applies when they're trying to solve a problem or make an important decision. They'll research every angle, read countless articles, watch videos, and maybe even reach out to experts. They want to make informed decisions based on a thorough understanding of all the factors involved. This research habit often makes INFJs incredibly knowledgeable about random topics. They might be able to give you a detailed explanation of sustainable architecture, the history of jazz music, and the psychology of color, all because something sparked their curiosity at some point. 4. They have intense solo dance parties and musical experiences. Here's something that might surprise you. When INFJs are alone, many of them transform into passionate performers, dancers, and music enthusiasts. The same people who might seem reserved or even shy in public can become incredibly expressive and free when they're in their private space. Picture this scene. An INFJ puts on their favorite song, closes their eyes, and suddenly they're not in their living room anymore. They're on stage at Madison Square Garden, or they're the protagonist in their favorite movie's most emotional scene. They might dance like nobody's watching, because nobody is, sing at the top of their lungs, or just move their body in ways that feel authentic and liberating. Music has a special power for INFJs because it speaks directly to their emotions. A single song can transport them to a different time, help them process complex feelings, or inspire them to dream bigger. When they're alone, they can fully surrender to this musical experience without worrying about how they look or what others might think. These solo performances aren't just about having fun, though they definitely are fun. They're also a form of emotional release and self-expression. During the day, INFJs often hold back their true emotions to maintain harmony or avoid overwhelming others. But when they're alone with their music, they can let it all out. Some INFJs will create elaborate playlists for different moods or life situations. They might have a processing heartbreak playlist, a feeling empowered playlist, or a nostalgic Sunday afternoon collection. They'll carefully curate these musical journeys to support their emotional needs and enhance their private experiences. The beautiful thing about these musical moments is how they help INFJs reconnect with their authentic selves. In a world that often asks them to tone down their intensity or hide their sensitivity, music gives them permission to feel everything fully and express it without judgment. 5. They organize and reorganize their spaces obsessively. When INFJs are alone, you'll often find them rearranging furniture, organizing closets, or creating the perfect environment for their current mood or project. But this isn't just about being neat and tidy. It's about creating external harmony that matches their internal world. INFJs are highly sensitive to their environment, and their physical space has a direct impact on their mental and emotional state. A cluttered, chaotic room can make them feel anxious and scattered, while a well-organized, aesthetically pleasing space helps them feel calm and focused. But here's where it gets interesting. INFJs don't just organize once and call it done. They're constantly tweaking and adjusting their spaces based on their evolving needs and moods. They might rearrange their bedroom to create a better reading nook, or they'll reorganize their desk to support a new creative project. This organizing obsession often extends to digital spaces too. They'll spend hours organizing their photo albums, creating the perfect folder structure for their documents, or curating their social media feeds to reflect their authentic interests and values. What makes INFJ organizing different from other personality types is the emotional and symbolic meaning behind it. They're not just putting things in order, they're creating a physical representation of their inner world. Every item has significance, every arrangement tells a story, and every change reflects their personal growth or shifting priorities. Sometimes this organizing becomes a form of meditation or stress relief. When life feels overwhelming or chaotic, INFJs will often turn to organizing as a way to regain control and create a sense of peace. The physical act of sorting and arranging helps them process their thoughts and emotions. The downside? Sometimes INFJs can get so caught up in creating the perfect environment that they procrastinate on other important tasks. They might spend 3 hours organizing their bookshelf when they should be working on a project. But for them, creating the right environment is often essential for being productive and creative. 6. They write letters, journals, and messages they'll never send. One of the most private and powerful things INFJs do when they're alone is write. But we're not talking about grocery lists or work emails. We're talking about deep, emotional, cathartic writing that serves as both therapy and art. Many INFJs keep detailed journals where they pour out their thoughts, feelings, and observations about life. These aren't just Dear Diary entries, they're complex explorations of their inner world, complete with philosophical musings, emotional breakthroughs, and detailed analysis of their relationships and experiences. But perhaps even more interesting is their habit of writing letters and messages they'll never send. An INFJ might spend an hour crafting the perfect response to someone who hurt them, or they'll write a heartfelt letter to a friend expressing gratitude and love. These unsent messages serve multiple purposes. They help process emotions, clarify thoughts, and practice expressing themselves authentically. Sometimes these letters are addressed to people from their past, maybe a deceased grandparent, an ex-partner, or a childhood friend they've lost touch with. Writing to these people helps INFJs work through unresolved feelings and maintain emotional connections that are important to them. Other times, they'll write to their future selves, creating time capsule letters that capture their current thoughts, dreams, and challenges. These letters become powerful tools for tracking personal growth and staying connected to their evolving identity. The act of writing also helps INFJs organize their complex thoughts and emotions. Something that feels overwhelming and chaotic in their mind becomes clearer and more manageable when they put it on paper. They can see patterns, identify solutions, and gain perspective on their experiences. Many INFJs also use writing as a way to explore their creativity and imagination. They might write short stories, poetry, or even start novels that nobody else will ever read. This creative writing serves as an outlet for their rich inner world and helps them process their observations about human nature and society. 7. They practice conversations and rehearse social interactions. Here's something most people don't realize about INFJs. Despite being naturally empathetic and socially aware, they often feel anxious about social interactions and spend considerable time preparing for them in private. When no one's watching, you might find an INFJ standing in front of their bathroom mirror, practicing how they'll ask their boss for a raise, or rehearsing what they'll say at their friend's birthday party. They'll consider different conversation starters, think through potential responses, and even practice their facial expressions and body language. This rehearsal isn't because they're fake or manipulative, quite the opposite. INFJs care so deeply about their relationships and interactions that they want to show up authentically and meaningfully. They practice because they want to be their best selves and communicate in ways that create genuine connection. For important conversations, an INFJ might run through dozens of scenarios. They'll consider how the other person might react, prepare responses to potential objections or questions, and think about how to express their thoughts clearly and kindly. This preparation helps them feel more confident and reduces their anxiety about the interaction. They'll also practice small talk, which doesn't come naturally to many INFJs. While they prefer deep, meaningful conversations, they understand that surface-level chit-chat is often necessary for building relationships. So they'll rehearse comments about the weather, current events, or shared experiences to help them navigate social situations more smoothly. Sometimes this practice extends to nonverbal communication too. An INFJ might work on maintaining eye contact, using open body language, or controlling their facial expressions to better convey their intended message. The challenge is that all this preparation can sometimes make INFJs feel inauthentic or scripted. They might worry that they're not being genuine if they've rehearsed what they're going to say. But in reality, this preparation often helps them communicate more authentically by reducing anxiety and giving them the confidence to express their true thoughts and feelings. 8. They create detailed plans and backup plans for everything. The final thing INFJs do when no one's watching is engage in extensive planning and scenario preparation. These aren't just simple to-do lists. We're talking about comprehensive, multi-layered plans that would impress a military strategist. An INFJ planning a vacation won't just book a hotel and flight. They'll research the local culture, identify must-see attractions, find the best restaurants, check the weather forecast, plan their outfits, and even research conversation topics related to their destination. They'll have backup plans for rainy days, alternative restaurants in case their first choice is full, and contingency strategies for transportation delays. This planning obsession extends to all areas of their life. They'll plan their career moves 5 years in advance, create detailed budgets with multiple scenarios, and even plan out potential conversations with family members during holiday gatherings. But here's what makes INFJ planning unique. It's not just about logistics and practicalities. They're also planning for emotional scenarios and relationship dynamics. They'll think through how they'll handle it if their sister brings up that sensitive topic at dinner, or they'll prepare mentally for how they'll support their friend who's going through a difficult divorce. INFJs are also master contingency planners. For every plan A, they have plans B, C, and sometimes D. They've thought through what they'll do if their presentation technology fails, how they'll handle it if their date doesn't go well, or what they'll say if someone asks them about their career change. This extensive planning serves several purposes for INFJs. First, it reduces their anxiety by helping them feel prepared for various situations. Second, it allows them to be more present and spontaneous in the moment because they've already done the mental work of preparation. Finally, it helps them align their actions with their values and long-term goals. The downside is that sometimes INFJs can get so caught up in planning that they don't leave room for spontaneity or serendipity. They might miss out on unexpected opportunities because they're too focused on following their predetermined plan. Why these private behaviors matter. Understanding what INFJs do when no one's watching gives us incredible insight into how their minds work and what drives them. These private behaviors aren't just quirky habits. They're essential strategies that help INFJs navigate a world that often feels overwhelming and misunderstood. The fantasy worlds and deep reflection help them process complex emotions and maintain their sense of identity. The research and planning reduce anxiety and help them feel prepared for social interactions. The organizing and writing provide outlets for their creativity and need for authentic self-expression. What's particularly beautiful about these private behaviors is how they reveal the INFJ's commitment to personal growth and authentic living. Even when nobody's watching, they're working on becoming their best selves, understanding themselves more deeply, and preparing to show up meaningfully in their relationships and responsibilities. These behaviors also highlight why INFJs often feel exhausted after social interactions. They put so much energy into preparing, analyzing, and processing their interactions that they need significant alone time to recharge and process everything they've experienced. For INFJs reading this, hopefully you feel seen and understood. Your private rituals and behaviors aren't weird or excessive. They're valid coping strategies and expressions of your unique personality. For non-INFJs, this insight can help you better understand and support the INFJs in your life. How to support an INFJ's private world. If you have an INFJ in your life, here are some ways you can support their need for private time and space. Respect their alone time without taking it personally. When an INFJ needs to retreat and recharge, it's not about you. It's about their essential need for solitude and reflection. Create safe spaces for them to share their thoughts and feelings without judgment. INFJs do so much internal processing that they sometimes need to verbalize their thoughts to trusted people. Understand that their planning and preparation isn't about being controlling. It's about managing anxiety and showing up authentically. Support their need to feel prepared rather than pushing them to be more spontaneous. Appreciate their depth and intensity rather than asking them to tone it down. The same qualities that make INFJs seem too much sometimes are also what make them incredibly loyal, insightful, and caring friends and partners. The beauty of the hidden INFJ. There's something profoundly beautiful about discovering what INFJs do when no one's watching. It reveals the incredible depth, creativity, and authenticity that drives this rare personality type. While the world might see INFJs as quiet, reserved, or even mysterious, their private world is rich with imagination, emotion, and constant growth. The next time you encounter an INFJ who seems lost in thought or needs some alone time, remember that they're probably engaged in one of these fascinating private activities. They might be constructing elaborate mental scenarios, analyzing their latest social interaction, or planning their next creative project. These private behaviors aren't just interesting personality quirks, they're essential components of how INFJs maintain their mental health, process their experiences, and prepare to engage meaningfully with the world around them. Conclusion: the private world of INFJs is far more complex and fascinating than most people realize. From creating elaborate fantasy scenarios to engaging in deep self-analysis, from having solo dance parties to writing letters they'll never send, INFJs use their alone time in incredibly productive and meaningful ways. These 8 behaviors reveal the true nature of the INFJ personality: deeply introspective, highly creative, emotionally complex, and constantly working toward authentic self-expression and meaningful connections with others. While they might seem quiet or reserved in public, their private world is vibrant, active, and full of depth. Understanding these private behaviors helps us appreciate why INFJs are such unique and valuable individuals. Their commitment to self-understanding, their creative outlets, and their careful preparation for social interactions all contribute to their ability to offer deep insights, genuine empathy, and authentic relationships. For INFJs, recognizing these patterns in themselves can be validating and empowering. You're not alone in these experiences, and your private rituals and behaviors are not only normal but essential for your well-being and growth. For those who love and care about INFJs, this understanding can help you support them better and appreciate the incredible amount of internal work they do to show up as their best selves in their relationships and responsibilities. The world needs INFJs and their unique perspective, creativity, and depth. By understanding and honoring both their public and private selves, we can create space for them to thrive and contribute their gifts to making the world a more compassionate, authentic, and meaningful place. So the next time you encounter an INFJ who needs some alone time or seems lost in thought, remember that they're probably engaged in one of these beautiful, complex, and essential private activities. And maybe, just maybe, you'll appreciate even more the depth and authenticity they bring to every interaction when they do emerge from their private world ready to connect with others.